What's up? What's up? What's up? Are we live? Are we live? I can't hear that bell. Where's it? There it is. Yeah, we're live. What's up? Happy Friday. Hell yeah. What's good, everybody? Looking for something. Pardon me. All right. What's up, everyone? Welcome. Welcome to a fine Friday edition. BS with B. Hannas. That's me. I call myself Nikki B. Hannas. That's Nikki B. Hannas. Here live on YouTube at BS with B. Hannas. It's my little YouTube morning talk show. I come out here and just talk about stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? It's about what I'm thinking, what's going on, things I'm pondering, things that I think are interesting, captivating, so on and so forth. You know, the whole premise of this, man, I'll wake up and usually I'll take a nice walk, read some good stuff. I'll come out here and talk to the people. When I'm done here, man, I'm going to go lift some weights. Dude. I usually do chest and arms on Friday just because it makes it feel good. Thinking I might do back, though. I might switch my schedule up a little bit. I don't love the back days. I don't know why. I need to change that. It's important to work out every part and muscle group of your body. And when I push back to Saturday, I find I neglect it a little bit. It's not a good look. So I think I want to change that. I think I'm going to change that starting today. But yeah, man, it's a Friday. It's hazy out there. We got more Canadian wildfires or something. It's like every second year we get the downwind smoke of Canada being unable to just get it together. So whatever, everyone's spiraling about that. Everyone's spiraling again anyway. The Friday, I like the big picture. You know, Monday, I like to zoom in and keep it narrow, straight up just what's on mind and mindset, mentality, whatever. Wednesday, we'll go out a little further. And Friday, I like to just big picture. Where do we lie in the big picture of things? You know, where is it that we are in relation to everything going on, what we're doing? And even if the, for all sakes and purposes, I guess, point of aperture throughout the week changes slightly, it's all the same thing, man. You know, your little picture turns into the big picture. Everyone's little picture is everyone's life is the small picture relative to the big picture of the world, society, civilization, the West. You know what I mean? You know, we are the collective. I'm not a collectivist type of dude. I don't really subscribe to collectivist type of thinking, group mentality. You know, it's intellectually dishonest for the most part. And it's almost like a result of an overly statistified mode of thinking. Like if we think, well, statistics show, well, if we look at statistics, well, if we look at the science, if we look at the polls, you know, if you look at everything with that as the primary view, then yeah, you got no real choice but to look at people as groups, multitudes, the masses, trends. You know, polls are trending this way. This new thing that statistics say 87% of millennials versus Gen Z versus whites versus black versus men, women. You start to look at things as like, you know, people aren't people anymore. They're just numbers in a spreadsheet. That's just dishonest. It's not the way it is. Realistically, the big picture is a composite of all the little pictures in the micro and the macro, in my opinion. You know, the macro view of society is what? The population. How many people? What's that? Millions of people? Billions of people? So how can you say, you know, that's a million people that have their own decision-making ability, that have their own stories, their own formative moments, their own motivations, their own interests, their own drives. You know, you can look at trends, sure. obviously, and it's kind of helpful, but there's a limit on it. And I try not to think that way. I just try not to think that way. When I see another grotesquely morbidly obese person, just as I go about my business, I don't think, oh, that's one of the 87% of Americans that. No, it's like, man, I'm curious. What got you there, dude? you know, Clearly neglect at scale. That's not one neglect. That's not a second neglect. That's a whole. I mean, that's a way of living that is just defined and therefore dictated by your own neglect. And I know how that goes, man. Back when I was a drunk, when I was drinking all the time, yeah, I put on a bunch of weight. I was never quite a giant, but I wasn't small, man. No, sir. I ballooned up. And, to the observer, if you'd have seen that same dude at the same bar at the same time every day, doing the same things, like, yeah, every small decision turns into what is the big, like, character. That's how I look at it. That's how I look at it. It seems to be the truth. It seems to be an undeniable truth. One action in one direction increases the likelihood of a second action in the same direction, and increases a third, then a fourth, so on and so forth. And then you get a personal trend. You know, that's your character, what you're known to do, what you are. And character's funny. We think maybe I don't know. I think about my character sometimes, probably to a point of detrimental utility, because why am I thinking about myself so much? That's dumb. That's selfish. It's self-centered. It's all these things. It's important though. I think it requires a level of reflection, or else you just sit there in ignorance. And if you're sitting there in ignorance, you're not actually sitting there. You're still doing things. Whatever it is that you do every day or don't do, you know, it's either one of two things. It's either action or inaction. And inaction, consciously, knowingly, willingly being inactive, that's a choice. So it's a passive choice, but a choice nonetheless. It's that famous Rush lyric. And if you, well, I forget how it goes. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice, something like that. But it's true. So whatever we're at in our lives, whatever our character is right now, man, it's completely and totally determined by our character, which is the result, the end product, the accumulation, the sum, of an unknowable amount of small choices in whatever direction, good or bad, no, knowingly or unknowingly, still produces the same thing, which is kind of where you're at. So that's why it interests me. That's why completely why it interests me. Because it behooves us then to, if we know the right thing, we know the right things to do, not even morally, not even like on a moral level per se, but it's like, for me, it's when I sleep, when I wake up. If I hit snooze, I know it's the wrong thing to do, and I'll do it anyway. I got a bad day at work. Today's a Friday. I spiral at work on Fridays in the burger joint. I just get stressed and triggered. My nervous system's at the end of its rope. Whatever it is, it's usually a shitty, miserable day. And by the end of it, I'm beat, I'm tired, I'm agitated, I'm mad. I'm looking for things to blame. I'm looking for ways to act out. And like I know it. There's that part, I look at it. It's almost like your internal witness, that voice that's always ever present with you, capable of greatness and it's capable of horror, and it kind of that inner voice, that inner witness, like tries to point you in the right direction if you're in contact with it, which is what sobriety has really showed me, because it's so much easier just to disregard what you know is right when you're like a little stoned. Yeah, I'll eat the seventh and eighth donut. And so now here I am, a sober dude. And if I reach into a bag of donuts and I'm eating seven, eight, nine, 10 of those little fucking things, I'm like, man, I know it ain't right. I gotta stop. This is dumb. This is setting me back on all my goals. This is blah. And then people still do things anyway, contrary to what they say they want, which is really interesting to me. It's really interesting to me. It's downstream of it. Well, I said something the other day. One of my shorts that I posted up. Let me see. I'll play it. As a matter of fact, let me see.
The way you
Yep.
live, you construct, you create what your character is. And we all know what the right things in life are. We all know what the good thing is. There's a known right thing that we all somewhere in us know that we have to aim for and pursue and be aligned with that. We're all creative, whether we like it or not. The one thing that we create.
Yep. So that was like a short that I posted the other day, which got me thinking because this where where most of my engagement on the YouTube Shorts is naysayers and you know goofballs that are probably not even real profiles on the internet. This one got some reaction. So shout out to my dude at JC71480. I don't know if he's commented before. I know Mr. Fuzz Nuggington's a fan, so shout out to you, buddy. He's been commenting on a bunch of my shorts. Fuzz Nuggington, welcome. Welcome to the world, buddy. But yeah, this guy, JC71480, he commented. He said, I've got breaking news for you, buddy. You don't make your decisions, and your thoughts aren't actually yours. Your decisions are made subconsciously up to 7 seconds before you consciously make them. I've heard that. Yeah, it's a clinical, psychological, scientific observation. And I'm interested in that relationship between the conscious you, capital Y you, your conscious decisions, the level of cognizance that you got in your present tense, the awareness of it, and how that relates to your subconscious, which is really constantly being imprinted and impressed by things at all times, your whole life. I've heard someone describe the two before. It's basically two parts of your operating system, where your subconscious is going to be your hardware, and your conscious mind is your software. And if I put I don't know, if I put a PlayStation 3 disc into an Xbox One or whatever, there's going to be something that doesn't work. It's not going to read it. The hardware, the subconscious, has a much more, I don't want to say determining role, but a much more like pertinent role in what's going on. So that's an interesting thing. Your decisions are made subconsciously up to 7 seconds before you consciously make them. And I wonder what informs that. I read that as kind of hostile. Breaking news for you, buddy. That's all good. He was I said, whoa, anyway, to keep the peace. Gives me the gives me the time of day to comment on my YouTube short, whatever kind of person it is out there in the big wide world that comments on a YouTube short. I don't comment on YouTube shorts, but I appreciate that. So shout out to you, buddy. I said, whoa, can you explain that? He sent a link to YouTube search results for your thoughts are not your own. So not the most diligent research, but that's all good. And then he also replied, he says, your body, your spacesuit, which houses the you, capital Y, you, which I like that a lot. Your body, the spacesuit which houses the you, is a biomechanical machine. It is a bioelectromagnetic antenna. It has 3 brains, the one in your skull, the solar plexus ganglion in your belly, and the heart. One sends, one receives, and one is a direct link, like an electrical current. One source, many loops. I've heard that before too, and I believe in that. I think the antenna, that antenna that we all have is directly related to that internal witness that we all have, that inner voice, that inner thing. Some people refer to it as your conscience with an N. Slightly different, though I'm not too sure exactly how, than your consciousness, conscienceness. So I believe that, and there's so many people that talk about the gut biome and the gut health. And, I forget who it was. I think it was Napoleon Hill that equated your digestive system to being the sewer, the sewage system that runs the city that is yourself, capital S, self. And that lends itself more to health and fitness and wellness, but it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. Because if you're taking drugs all the time and drinking all the time, then the physical biological organ that is your brain and receptors, and which are in fact electromagnetic, which are in fact electric in nature. Same with the heart, same with the blood, all this stuff. It's very, very fascinating. Once you get out of the scientific paradigm and kind of attempt to synthesize it into like, what are we? What are we? What is I? Who am I? I, you, we, us, me. And it's like unnecessarily philosophical sometimes and doesn't really help anything on like a day-to-day basis when it comes to action or inaction. But the voice that determines that action or inaction this is the internal operating system of it, as far as I can tell, up to this point. You're getting signals, the antenna, which lends itself to his original point. Your thoughts are not your own, buddy. I believe that. We don't know where thoughts come from. We don't know where thoughts come from, especially once you get back to the imprints on the subconscious over your entire life. Childhood traumas, unhealed traumas, the healing of the self, and the realignment. You can say that stuff, and there's so much merit and legitimacy to it, but it comes with the connotation of like soft, like feminine, like psychologist talk. So I have to mitigate my stubborn nature, my bullheaded nature, my middle finger nature, and be like, all right, let me think about this like open minded and with honesty. But in any event, yeah, he said that one sends, one receives, and one is a direct link, like an electrical current. One source, many loops. Yeah, but a direct antenna to what? Whatever the great source of it all is, I guess. I said, I agree with that, and like how you capitalized the you. But are we not capable of choice and autonomy? Because I'm a free will dude. That's the dilemma. That's the dilemma in all of it. You don't want to wake up, but you can. You don't want to go to bed on time, but you can. You want to skip that workout, but you don't have to. You want to eat two pizzas in a row and some breadsticks just because you can, but you don't have to, and you know it. You know, where did that thought even come into your brain? If you're on your fat loss journey and you're looking to live your best life, well, you know that ridiculous cheat meal, the 25 chicken wings, that's not part of that. So where it's contrary to what your conscious mind is saying you want. So where did those original thoughts come from? Are they just reactions? Are they just electric neural residue? How would electric neural residue translate into your mental imaging, turning into just this gluttonous? I don't know, man. It's just these are things that I struggle with and things that I think are fascinating. So I asked the guy, my man JC 171480. I said, but are we not capable of choice and autonomy? To which he said, even though I thought he was hostile at first, it turned out to be kind of a fruitful interaction randomly on a YouTube short. So shout out to you, buddy. I appreciate you, man. He said, that, sir, is a very good question. The answer to which I have none. The best I can come up with is that our choice and autonomy are similar to our ability to consciously control the biological processes of our body, which is less than 1%. The rest of which is controlled mostly by the ANS via the solar plexus, which is what I believe is our direct link to the omnipresent God or the source or whatever we call it, the ocean from which we are drops. Yeah, I like that, man. ANS being your what is it, the autonomic nervous system, which is like what the subconscious lives in, because that's the part of your body I'm pretty sure that like you don't control, blood pumping and oxidization and all that shit. Yeah, but then he said, but in short, I really don't know whether or not we can have whether or not we have or can change our destiny or fate has been a long discussed topic. Yeah. Yeah, he's right. Very interesting. Very interesting. Our thoughts are not our own, but yet we think. Maybe that's the attempt. Maybe in the big picture, which is way too big to name if you want to break it down to this small level, this micro view. So maybe am I running contrary to my Friday thesis, to my Friday perspective? That's all right. It's my show. I'll do what I want. This is what I'm thinking of my whole day today. One day out of my whole week is going to be determined by many small actions, even if that means waking up and paying a bunch of bills and then putting on a weighted vest and then walking out in my neighborhood through smog. I live in the suburbs. I live in the affluent, wealthy suburbs, way below the standard income out here. But I digress. I walk through the suburbs dealing with smog blowing downstream from Canada, dog. Yeah, it could have been easy to be like, nah, I'm not doing that. And then I might as well just hit snooze and go back to sleep. Sleep till the last second, get up begrudgingly, get up and rush out the door and go to work and then do at work and look at work as this big thing and be mad about it the whole time. And I still may be mad about it the whole time. Once we get there, we'll find out how the day goes. But even in those moments, say I got some customer in the burger joint that we have a tip jar and it says, show us your tips, which is hilarious. So what happens when a customer comes up and decries it as being sexist or disrespectful or whatever, to say my thoughts are not my own? That's true because I might just laugh. There have been times I just laugh in someone's face without really realizing it. So what causes that? Is it just a reaction? A reaction? And a responsive action? Actions are informed by thoughts, informed by belief systems, rather, which are comprised of thoughts. So where do they all come from? I don't know. Maybe that's our journey. Maybe that's our job is to figure all this stuff out. Or, you know, retard max it, think nothing of it, see the thing you got to do, and just get it done. Somewhere in between. Somewhere in the between of those two things is where I like to hang out when I come out here after a walk, after some reading, talking to the people. But that's what I got. Over the 20-minute mark. Happy Friday, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, appreciate y'all hanging out here with me on this fine Friday morning. BS with Hannas, live on YouTube at BS with Hannas with me, Nikki Hannas. You can find this on YouTube, obviously, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcast, Amazon Podcast, so on and so forth. I got another YouTube channel, Nikki Hannas Music. There's a bunch of music stuff on there, some live clips. All my studio stuff's on YouTube too. But, you can also find that heavy blues metal, as I like to call it. Oh, yeah, buddy, heavy blues metal. NikkiBehannas.com, NikkiBehannas.bandcamp.com, Nikki Behannas on all streaming services. If you like the show, like, subscribe, or don't. Comment on my shorts. Give me some thought-provoking shit. Or tell me I stink. Tell me my sunglasses are dumb. I don't really care. I look forward to the engagement. And in fact, I appreciate it. If you really like the show, all the links are beneath all the stuff that I do. You can support me on Patreon if you want. You can buy me a coffee if you want. You can follow me on Instagram if you want at Heavy Blues Metal. Yeah, I think that's my long list of plugs. You want to find some heavy blues metal clothes, some threads, you like the message, want to rep the message? F&A. Let's go. HeavyBluesMetal.com. I think that's it. Happy Friday. Keep it real. One love. I'm out. Peace.